Today I'm at a location I haven't been to for a little while. It's Mayadeta in Villajoyosa. You can probably see up behind me here there's this tower which kind of looks like it's one of the old 16th century watchtowers, but it isn't. It's 19th century, I think, and it was actually built as a library for the old villa, which is further over that way. Now I decided to come up here today because I'd heard they were doing a load of work here, and I must admit I thought they were going to be doing a load of work restoring the old villa. Now that seems to be the one thing that hasn't been touched. Instead, they've done a lot of work on all the grounds around here. It's a site of historical importance, and it looks like they've put in loads of proper paths instead of crumbling and rough tracks that you had to follow before. They've taken out a load of the old dead trees and fallen trees, and it looks like they've planted a load of new stuff. So it looks very different from the last time I was here. I do kind of miss the sort of slightly more rough feel to it that we used to have, but there's no doubt about it, in a few years time this is going to look really pretty, I think. But I also came here thinking, because we've got quite a bit of cloud, I might be able to get some long exposures in, maybe with some moving cloud. I don't know if that's going to work, because I was kind of hoping there'd be more cloud out to sea, and most of the cloud is inland. But nevertheless, we're going to have a go, see what we can find to shoot, and shoot it. So I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you do, and you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. I've set up a shot with this tower. There's kind of a rocky area leading up to it, tower up in the background, and then some quite dark and moody skies up there. And I thought I'd try a long exposure. Now it is pretty bright, it's middle of the afternoon, and I need quite a lot of filters to bring an exposure up to a reasonable amount. So I've put on a 10 stop and a 3 stop, so I've got 13 stops on there. That should let me get 90 seconds, or a minute and a half, which I've got running at the moment, and we'll see how that looks. It's really quite amazing what they've done to this place. They've built a load of terraces, or at least cleaned up the ones that were there. They've put in some proper pathways. Now, while I may to some extent lament the slightly more wild and rugged scenery that was here, I've got to be honest, this place is now much more accessible for a lot more people. You know, for example, people with limited mobility, people in wheelchairs could now come and visit this place. And I think once they've actually got, you know, some of the planting that they've done has matured a bit, it's going to be very pretty. So I think that's a good thing. And it's even opened up some possibilities that weren't here before. For example, this tree. Now, I've photographed this tree before, normally looking out to sea. And one of the reasons for that was it was a real mess around here. There was boulders and rough old dead plants and all the rest of it, and it was really difficult to get a decent view of it. Now, while I might miss some of the grass that grew around here, it's actually opened up some possibilities, and I've got a shot lined up here. In fact, I've just finished shooting a 1 minute exposure where what I've got is the tree kind of coming in at an angle from the right hand side of the frame, and it kind of leans over with a nice shape, and I've got it clear of all of the background, because then the coastline comes in, the cliffs come in, and then we've got a bit of cloud up above and a bit of blue sky down the bottom. Now, I've shot a 1 minute exposure on this, and the only concern I've got is movement in the tree. What I'm tempted to do now is take the filters off and shoot a fast exposure and just use the long exposure for the sea, just to flatten it out, because the sea is kind of a bit there at the moment. I must admit, I had the wrong information today. I checked the weather forecast yesterday, looked at cloud maps, and it was showing a lot of really heavy clouds, but with some gaps. And I thought, oh, that could be interesting. We could get some nice dramatic lights, even though it's kind of daytime. Unfortunately, what's actually happened is we've got really thick cloud in over the mountains inland, and not a lot of cloud over the sea. But nevertheless, we'll do what we can. I've set up a composition here using some rocks in the foreground. The water's kind of washing in around them, and then it kind of goes out. There's a bit of a kind of a cliff edge or something in the background. And all I'm trying to do is get some of the waves as they're kind of breaking in around the scene. They're not big waves, but I was originally going to shoot this much lower down. But I found it just didn't look right. There was too much overlap in the rocks, and I've put a 6-stop ND filter on to let me get a ½ a second exposure to kind of pick out the water movement. Now, this is going to be a focus stack, so I'll do one focused out on infinity, one about halfway in, and then most of the shots will be focused in close. And then I'll pick whichever of the foreground shots I think looks best and use that. Just got to keep an eye on the filter as well. Yeah, because we get spray and we get water spots on it, and that will not be a good thing. Okay, got a slightly tricky one here. I'm glad I got the tripod for this because I need to focus stack it. It's actually the tree that I shot earlier, but now I'm down on this kind of rather sort of tricky slope, looking up at it against a cloudy sky. And in the foreground, there's, I'll show you, there's like a bit of, well, it's a bit of pine tree basically growing out of the rocks with all the needles and everything on. In the foreground, there's cracks in the rocks leading into it. And then we've got sort of boulders and rocks going up to the tree in the background, curving across against quite a nice sky. So I am going to need to focus stack this one on the tree, one on the mid-ground, or probably one, yeah, one on the tree, probably one on the sort of bit of fir tree in the sort of mid to foreground, and then one on the foreground to try and get the cracks sharp. I'm also watching out because there's a blooming great wasp flying around here. I swear that thing's 1.5 inches long. Oh, go away. Shoot. I don't want it getting in my bag or something stupid. Anyway, let's get this one shot. I can't set the tripod up for video because I'm on a really tricky slope. Okay, I've just realised that time is getting on and I need to be getting home. So this may be a short video, I don't know. But either way, I hope you've enjoyed it. Now, the next video is going to be a channel update, but it'll be a channel update with some photography as well, because I don't want to do just a channel update video. So I'll be talking you through some photography and telling you about what's been going on and what's going to be going on, because there's going to be some changes. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, likes and shares really appreciated. If you've enjoyed this video and you're new here, if you haven't hit subscribe yet, now would be a great time. And as always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, so thank you very much. And until the next video, bye.